Coming up, a new study on the prevalence of interpersonal dysfunction associated with narcissism. So the fact of how people are very, uh, what's the best word? Socially handicapped, not really well among others. We've always heard about that with narcissists, that they don't play well with others. They don't communicate. They don't socialize well with others. Well, this study actually points that out. That's the focus here on this edition of Depraved and Debaucherous, King of Podcasts. Thanks for listening in and watching, wherever you find the show. And by the way, if you have any comments or anything like you want to do, talk to me about any of the topics I talk about here, go on my YouTube feed under this video and please put a comment down, put a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And if you're listening on the audio version, then send me an email, kingofpodcasts@yahoo.com, or go to any of my social media channels at King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn. All those places right there. So there's a new study in personality and mental health about how narcissistic loved ones are affected, showing negative outcomes such as increased anxiety, depression, and somatic concerns. Narcissists have dysfunctional social relationships that may include aspects such as controlling, vindictive, or manipulative behaviors. Yeah, or immaturity I would put in there as well. They favor mind games, deception, and often react angrily or violently. There are a lot more people, guys and girls, that are much more narcissists than we realize. That word doesn't get brought up enough, and there needs to be an awareness about narcissism that needs to be talked about on a regular basis, and that's why I'm doing this show. We talk about things like this, manipulation, dark arts, dark personalities, all these kind of things. There's so much that can be said about it, and we need to understand that as a society, what things that are being accepted and not accepted, and how some people might have things that might not be your cup of tea, but that shouldn't be anything you should really necessarily, dispute or put down. For what? Like, really, let's be a little more accepting of things and understanding of it, at the least. So they're trying to understand in this research the limitations of trying to understand narcissism using self-report measures from narcissists, and instead focusing on responses of people that are close to a narcissist. So they did the study, and participants provided a narrative about their relative or relationship they had, completed a survey, doing quantitative and qualitative measures to understand relationships between participants and their narcissistic relatives. Results showed common themes: emotional or physical abuse as part of their experiences, which, here's the thing too, when you see girls or guys and you see, certain things where they're acting out, or I'm just going to say it like this. I see a lot of girls and guys in some cases that if they're wearing a lot of tattoos or wearing piercings, or, they're doing things that change and alter and, just change their look altogether, that they can't look at themselves just the way they look in the mirror, the way they were born, the way they were blessed, how they look naturally. If you can't look at yourself naturally and you have to constantly change, there might be some underlying factors, that some experiences that cause them to be where they are. Same thing with narcissists. They, in the same way, have their own issues. They also might have issues of experiences like stealing, debt, unwanted sexual behavior, infidelity, addiction, withholding, demanding behavior, and more. One participant told researchers about how he had nothing to show for it and would not discuss it with me, lying about how much money we had and did not pay our bills. Eviction notices piled up, and relatives creating cycles of idealizing and devaluing their relatives, causing confusion and low self-esteem, and confusion that keeps people stuck in abusive cycles without leaving. Yeah, whatever they can to keep people hooked in, and have to realize that there are certain red signs and red flags, and some people don't realize it because your emotions are caught up with what your logic is having to see, that it's not making sense. Narcissistic relatives also created cycles of idealizing and devaluing the relatives, leading to confusion and low self-esteem. As we all create confusion, it keeps people stuck in abusive cycles without leaving. And then the relatives showing higher rates of anxiety, depression, self-blame, and hostility. Yeah, there are people that are holding you down. Sometimes family members, you don't know where they come from or what they've gone through. Same thing with relationships. If you're going through that, you can realize there's something wrong. Interpersonal dysfunction also is a very prominent feature of pathological narcissists. And then you can see it through the context of intimate relationships. So, interacting with others, they do a really bad job at, and that might not be on purpose. So the findings also inform clinical interventions. This is the need to assess for interpersonal violence in the treatment of individuals with pathological narcissism. It's also attending the potential conflicts around dependency for partners and family members with a narcissistic relative. That clinicians treating them should carefully examine the therapeutic alliance with individuals with pathological narcissism, attending the themes of idealization and devaluation, and potentially need to set limits and establish a sense of personal safety. Because the limitations, you can realize that some people are just going to have a short fuse, and there's a reason why they have that short fuse because of past experiences. So also keep in mind, for those that you realize you're dealing with somebody that is a narcissist or manipulative or controlling or whatever, there's a reason why that happened. There's a cause of it. Sometimes it could be, the family structure they were born with or the family they were dealing with and what kind of things might have happened to them. Because everybody has some background that brought them to where they are. And most importantly, if they're able to go and learn to not play the victim card and be victimized constantly, instead of being stuck where you're in a cycle where you're being victimized and you realize you're in a situation, you feel like you can't get yourself out of it, there has to be a way to get out of it. You have to find a way and survive whatever this experience is for yourself, dealing with a narcissist and getting yourself out. Can't believe this, how there's so many books about it that I've seen out there. I've never read them, but there's so much I've read that it's been relative to the story of narcissism and dark arts and manipulation. And, it's something to be said about how you wish kids would just have a proper upbringing with both, with two parental figures that are dominant or submissive, or that they're one that's much more, some more supportive and pleasing. And also noticing that some people that are people pleasers and realizing that those have become where they are because they've been abused in some way, shape, or form, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, whatever, and to not put any judgment on them. And most importantly, don't take advantage of them like you're going to if you are a nice guy that has become a narcissist and become manipulative and controlling. Look at that in yourself. Look internally at yourself and realize if there's things that happened to you before, find a way to work it out, talk about it, and be open about it. There has to be a way. So hopefully discussions like this will continue to help those out there who might be a little depraved and debaucherous.